Welcome to the fourth episode of Murder Through the Grapevine. Um, this is a podcast. If this is the first time you're listening, please check out our first three episodes where the beautiful Jessica, say hello, Jessica.
Hello.
And myself tackle a new wine and a new true crime every episode. This week is the Colin Gillis story of a person who went missing up near Tupper Lake in upstate New York. What is the wine that we are pairing with this story today, Jessica?
Today's wine is 1,000 Stories. It is a
Oaked
American barrel-aged Chardonnay.
So they use oak barrels?
Yeah.
It does. It's funny because I feel like you hide me from white wines. You don't allow me to drink them. You only allow me to drink red wine.
I feel like that's bull, but I also drink white wine myself. It is one of my favorite things, but I am not a fan of oak Chardonnay.
Are you serious?
In general. No, not a fan.
I'm a big fan of this wine.
So
And this wine glass.
We'll talk about this. This wine glass is very nice. A wedding gift for us.
Yeah.
From you.
Well, let's tackle that real quick. Since our last episode, somebody got married. Congratulations.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks.
You really won the lottery.
Yeah. We got married since episode 3. And I did buy these wine glasses as a wedding gift that has our names on them. Not nearly as nice as the gift that you got me. So.
Yes, but what's really nice about these wine glasses, which if you've got different wine glasses in the house, what's really interesting is try to taste the same wine in multiple different glasses, and it will change the way the wine tastes just ever so slightly. Maybe the way it smells. I don't know why, but these are very delicate glasses. We've talked about at home, not on this podcast, but the best wine glasses in general, the winemakers drink out of a brand called Rydell.
Yes.
And
we do have some Rydell glasses.
And we have some Rydell glasses.
Also, another wedding gift we got from John McKaylee.
No, not from John McKaylee.
All right. That's from Brian.
Yeah, so
John McKaylee got us the hot pot.
Yes, so maybe cut this out of the episode.
Brian
Conley.
Brian Conley from 7 Points Brewing. Make sure you go and check him out over at Stella's Pasta Bar. And try a nice pint of his beer, and then thank him personally when you do that. I don't know what just happened, but I just lost an ear.
The dog tripped and fell over the microphone.
No, I've lost. No, I'm back. Okay,
so tasting notes. Let's talk about the tasting notes on this wine real quick. So white wine in general, I do not run through the trusted aerator, nor did I let this sit out too long. I think I poured it about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, we like to let it sit for an hour before we drink it, right?
Right, and we will taste this again at the end of the podcast.
It'll be about an hour
to do comparisons, but we just poured it right out of the bottle. This is a 2022 Chardonnay. 1,000 Stories is kind of neat. They are California-based. Again, with my California stuff, I got to venture out to the other countries, but I'm starting us with the easy to find in your wine store. You can hear the cows.
Is that a cow or a donkey?
It's a cow.
We're recording this episode outside today out on our back deck. It is a beautiful day. It just freshly rained, and we figured to hang outside on the back deck and do this podcast. So if you hear weird noises, it's just the wildlife around our house.
I don't know if cows classify as wildlife, though.
All right, domesticated life and wildlife.
Yes. So, let's talk about the tasting notes. So
yes.
First,
can I?
Okay, but let's just talk about the color, because it's color, nose, palette.
All right, color to me looks kind of peachy, but I'm horrible at colors.
Yeah, no, you're literally colorblind. So let's talk about
color disorder.
Sorry, for the other for people who can see color. This is a brilliant pale yellow color, and that's true. This is not super yellowy. Like sometimes Chardonnays will have a very, very yellow, dark yellow color. This is not. This is very, very light yellow.
For sure.
Let's talk about this aroma, your favorite thing.
Ooh, I haven't even smelled it yet. I'm going to hold the cup away
These
from my
white wines
nose
are
while
so
I smell
hard
this,
for me.
unlike
This is
you.
this is so hard. Oh, I'm like sniffing into the microphone.
It smells like apples. It smells like pears and apples.
Okay, so the official. You're pretty good. That's yellow apple, marshmallow. Any other comments?
Hold on. A little vanilla-y.
Yep. I feel like you cheated and read the toast.
I did not. I did not.
Okay.
No, I just lost my microphone for a split second.
Marzipan
Okay.
and clove, which I'm
Ooh.
not getting the clove, and I would pick up on clove
Thank
in like
God we're not
2
getting the
seconds.
clove.
I know you and I don't like clove in anything, and I usually when I don't like something, that's the first thing you taste, you know. So
desserty. Marzipan with some apple-y.
and the marshmallow and the coconut oil, which I may have skipped when I first read the tasting notes.
I do get a hint of coconut in there. Yeah.
Because you had gotten the vanilla bean, so I kind of skipped around. So it's yellow apple, marshmallow, coconut oil, vanilla bean, marzipan, and clove are what we should be smelling. Okay, now the tasting.
I like the taste. So I've already tasted it.
Well, me too.
It almost tastes like there's a caramel taste to it. You can taste the barrel oakiness to it.
You can taste the oakiness to it. This is a really light wine, though. Even for these, I don't really love oak Chardonnay, and this is very light. It's not a heavy oak Chardonnay, and I would say that if you've had a bad experience with oak Chardonnay in the past, maybe try this one.
Do you not like this?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
I do like it. I think it is very good. And since I don't generally like oaked Chardonnays, I would have never picked this had it not been the name and like the American oak, barrel aged. I was like, let's pick this one.
Yeah. Because
I think our choice of story today is an American story.
Yeah. Yeah. I like as far as like the flavor goes too. I also noticed maybe because it's still just only been 20 minutes since we've opened it, but it has a warm finish to it, much warmer than most white wines that I would normally am allowed to drink when you give them to me. And the reason why I say this because you'll open up a bottle of white wine and not say a word to me. You open up a red wine, you're like, hey, you want a glass? But if you open up a bottle of white wine, I look over and you're passed out on the couch with a half a glass of wine over there, and I'm like, I didn't have any wine. And then I go and I steal it while you're sleeping.
Yeah, sounds about right.
All right, so let's get to the name of this. So this is 1,000 Stories. Who makes this?
So this is made by oh my gosh, what is the name of this winery? That's the name of the
Cellar.
winery, 1,000 Stories.
Cellar. Oh, is it? 1,000 Stories is the cellar?
Yeah. And it is a Chardonnay made in Arroyo Seco region of California. It's a lady winemaker. Her name is Margaret.
Oh, thank you, Margaret.
And there is actually several wines. This winery's been around for quite a while. They have a red blend, a Zinfandel, a Cabernet, a Pinot Noir, kind of everything you can think of. I think their stuff has been more prominently placed lately in the wine store that I frequent, and I think that's why I kind of noticed the bottle, and I was like, let's try it.
Let's do it. I like it, and it runs into our story. The connection there is that it's 1,000 stories. Like there's been 1,000 stories to what people think happened to Colin Gillis. Now, let me preface it by also stating that we are not investigators. This is an unsolved cold case from Tupper Lake, New York, somewhere that we've visited. But like I said, I just want to preface it. We're not investigators. We don't, we will share our ideas of what we think might have happened, but we don't know. And we're only going by the stories that will be posted in the blog on our website. And it is an
open case, so the New York State Police really can't share much about this, which means that they don't share a lot with anyone calling to ask questions, the press. There's not a lot out there. His family, of course, has shared a lot, so that's where you're getting most of the information from.
For sure. And as we normally do with every case. We go over just the facts as we know them. We know that Colin went missing March 11th, 2012 in the town of Tupper Lake, which is, again, in upstate New York, place where you and I have gone camping before. And it's one of the reasons that we picked Tupper Lake is because it is so desolate. There's a lot of places in upstate New York that used to be, especially around like Saranac Lake and Lake Placid, that you would just go out camping and not see anybody for the 3 or 4 days or 5 days that you're out there. And when we go camping, we fill everything that we need for that whole camping trip in our backpacks, and then we'll hike in 3 or 4 miles. We'll find a quiet spot and we'll set up, and that's where we are. And the reason why we chose Tupper Lake is because it is known for being pretty isolated, especially the part that we were camping. There we did run into a couple of people, but just mostly day hikers.
I also feel like it's a little more not as commercialized as Saranac or Lake Placid, so
for sure.
The town is not bustling with tourism. There's some, of course, but
for sure.
Not as much as those other towns that really. I mean, Lake Placid attracts thousands of people every summer and fall and winter. And Tupper Lake has a ski resort as well. But the population in that town is 3,000.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in the Adirondacks when you go up there, I think.
For sure. That's within the village.
That's within the village, correct.
Yes. Very good.
And the village is within the boundaries of the Adirondack Park, which is, 6.1 million acres.
It's a big, big chunk of upstate New York.
Yes, huge. So, Tupper Lake High School, by the way, graduated 54 students this year.
Slightly more than... Well, I went to a couple different high schools, but the smallest number was 74.
Yeah, I graduated with 76, so a little bit smaller, but...
We're both accustomed to, again, I went to a lot of different schools. I was lucky enough to live in the country and also live in the city, and the suburbs. So I've had the opportunity to live in a couple different situations. My father lived in Duanesburg as a kid growing up, and I spent a lot of time out in Duanesburg and lived with him for a couple of years. So I know what it's like to live out in the country. And our friend here, Colin Gillis, is a very intelligent kid. He skipped a grade, right, in high school?
Yeah.
Or maybe sooner, but he skipped a grade at some point in his career. So he was in college.
He graduated, a year early. Yeah, so he was only 17 going into his freshman year of college.
Yeah.
And he attended, where'd he go? Binghamton?
Yeah.
Oh, Brockport. SUNY Brockport.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry, so that's a little bit of a, Brockport's out a little bit west of here. I'm sure most people are upstate New York are familiar with SUNY Brockport, but he was one of 3 children, all boys, and his parents owned a small woodworking shop in the town of Tupper Lake, so well known in the community.
Do we know the name of it?
We probably do, but
I will try to research it. If we can find anything on it, I will put it in the blog with a link to their website or at least the name of the shop.
Yeah, and obviously they're still up there.
Yeah.
So he was strapping young man, I would say. He's 6'1", 170 pounds.
Wow.
He had blonde hair and blue eyes. And he was 18 years old on the date that we're talking about, which is March 11th, 2012.
Just past his birthday.
He just turned 18.
He was in college.
Yes.
He came home on spring break.
Yeah.
1 week after his 18th birthday.
Yep. Yeah. So home on spring break, staying with the parents, seeing all his friends. You know how that is freshman year. You come back and everybody comes back that first year to see their friends. So, he's excited to see his parents and his friends.
Yep. I remember that so much more on Thanksgiving than I did. Like, it was like, well, I can't wait to see everybody on
yeah, well, people have different spring breaks, too, I think. So, I mean, all the SUNY kids tend to have all the same, but I don't know what his friends' dynamic was. But my friends, I didn't go to a SUNY school, so when I came home for spring break, I was, like, off. Yeah. Everybody else had been home, like, a week or two before. So
that's why Thanksgiving is always better.
Yeah, Thanksgiving was...
But remember, a lot of his friends are a year younger.
Right. So, and this is a small town, so that means, growing up in a small town myself, and his town's even smaller, people 6 grades ahead of you, 6 grades below you. It doesn't matter. You kind of know everybody. Doesn't matter what grade you're in. So, Colin comes home from SUNY Brockport. He's studying pre-med.
Okay.
And he's home with the parents. I think he watched basketball that night with
College
his parents.
basketball, yeah.
Yeah. And 8:30 at night, he decides to go hang with his friends for the night.
Yeah.
Not unusual.
No.
It's 2012, by the way, so cell phones are obviously pretty popular, but maybe self-service not as
Even
great.
now, up in
Yeah.
Tupper Lake area, you're
Definitely
gonna have some pretty
questionable.
spotty cell phone reception.
And definitely, I think maybe social media was maybe not as prevalent.
It was around, but yeah.
Yeah, were we still in MySpace era?
No, I think you're just moving past the MySpace and getting into, like, Facebook is now opening up to people outside of colleges and stuff.
Yeah, okay. Because, like, obviously I'm significantly older than Colin, so I don't really remember 2011, 2012.
Well, it's like 2008. Your MySpace had a big share of the core group there, and then Facebook was coming out, but it was very organization. Like you had to belong to like your college.
Oh, okay. Is that how it
Facebook,
started?
and then
See, I
like
don't
every
really
college had its
remember.
own. Yeah.
Okay.
And then eventually, they kind of opened up for everybody.
Okay, so Colin leaves to hang out with his friends. They initially go to a friend's house right near his own house, so didn't venture very far at all.
No.
Then his group of friends hear about a 21st birthday party.
But also to back up, he did leave his house. It is March.
Right. Oh, sorry.
And by the way, I mean, we were up in Lake Placid a couple of years ago in April, and we were in a blizzard. We went up Scarface,
full snowsuits.
Yeah, and then we went up to the top of Big Slide, and there was a couple feet of snow, like just
because there was a storm when we were there. So
but in Albany it was 80 degrees.
Yeah, no, it's cold there.
So yeah, keep in mind in March. Yeah,
March it's still very chilly.
Middle of March, the Ides of March.
Yeah, right around that time. It's pretty cold.
It's
They're
winter,
definitely
yeah.
still. We were still. When did we go skiing up there this year? Right around that time,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
So yeah. So very very chilly. I would still classify it as winter. So he leaves his house that day
Dressed
in a t-shirt,
and jeans.
He did have a backpack with him with a jacket in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else was in there, but there was a jacket,
For sure.
according to family and friends.
Also a smart kid. Let's also point out that when his college was pre-med.
Right. Yeah.
Did we already point that out?
Yes, I did.
All right. Bear with me. I'm in some pain, so I'm in and out of listening.
Okay. So him and his group of friends decide that they're going to go check out this other party. Now, they don't really know anyone at this other party, but again, like I said earlier, when you grow up in a small town, you kind of know everyone, even if you're not friends with them necessarily, you're acquaintances, right? So you're comfortable going to a party where everybody's at,
Yeah.
certainly. So he and I believe his 9 of his friends
Mm-hmm.
head over to this party. They all drove there together in a couple cars.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, a fight breaks out at this party. There probably was some drinking because it's a 21st birthday party and it's the sticks.
Yep.
So let's be honest. It's probably some drugs. The fight breaks out and Colin's friends decide to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because they don't want to get, underage drinking. That's a
I
big
think that's
deal.
what they said. Yeah, they didn't want to.
They don't want to be associated with that if something should happen. They start to pack up and leave.
Yeah.
Colin does not want to go.
Yeah.
He adamantly wants to stay. There's some theories about that. Do you have any?
I guess if myself, putting myself in that situation.
Yeah, when you're 18 and
I'm
you're
an
at a party,
18-year-old.
you're having a good. Let's say you're having a good time.
I've been in this situation.
Yeah.
I was older than 18. I was probably about 20, 21. I went to a house party. I have somebody who is, I wouldn't really consider that much of a friend anymore because of this exact reason. He was very confrontational. He would go to parties and look for fights. And I was hitting it off with a girl at this party. And he and a bunch of my friends get into a fight. And they all hop in the car and say, Nick, it's time to go. nah, guys, I'm good. I think I'm going to hang out here. And I did. And they left. And I did not get, I did not disappear. This was in Rotterdam, New York, this party. So,
but you can relate to the fact that he didn't necessarily want to leave.
That's my point, is that there was, to me, I'm wondering if he was talking to a lady or somebody that he was interested in.
Yeah.
And they were hitting it off. And all his friends want to leave, and he didn't want to. From what we understand, even after his disappearance, I know that, and we'll get to it a little bit more, but the police went around asking him around his dorm if they've heard from him or what they could say about his character and who he was. And all the people that knew him in college thought he was very likable. He had a lot of friends.
Even the kids in his high school said that about him.
Yeah, exactly. My point is that people who didn't know him as long all had the same things to say as the people who have known him forever. He was a very likable. It doesn't seem like he was confrontational. Didn't seem like,
Didn't have the reputation of being like in fights or starting fights or anything like that. So, for everything we can tell, we don't think he was involved in this fight.
No. Well, we don't know.
But no one's really talking about that.
Yeah.
As far as the newspapers, not really saying much about that.
Mm-hmm.
But he leaves the party around 1 a.m. On foot by himself.
Yes.
Now, there's not really great cell phone reception out there.
Well, also, let's back up a little bit. The party went on for a little bit longer after his friends left.
Yeah.
And for some reason, again, it kind of seems like this party abruptly ends. Like maybe there was just too much going on, too much. There might have been another confrontation.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
No one's talking.
Yeah.
A lot of this is all theories.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's a theory.
For sure.
Because anyone that was there at the party is like, oh, nothing happened.
Yeah.
So we really don't know.
Yeah.
But what we do know is that Colin was seen leaving the party at 1 a.m. approximately.
Yeah.
And he was walking along the road. I guess it was a long dirt road heading from the house. And then once he got to the more main road, he hung a left. And his home, and I could be wrong, but I believe his home was to the right.
Yeah.
So that was unusual. And no one could really figure out what's going on there. But around 1:30, he's spotted by a man named Rich, who I won't say his last name, but he's, at that time, the editor of the Lake Placid newspaper. He's an older gentleman. He's driving his mother home from a weekend and didn't want to stop to help or ask if he needed a ride because he didn't know Colin, and he's driving home at 1:30 in the morning with his elderly mother in the car.
Street in the middle of winter, or middle of March in Tupper Lake, not wearing a shirt,
right?
Or not wearing a cut jacket, just wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah, it just seemed to, and he was, I think, waving his hands frantically at the time.
He was?
Yeah, they just don't know why.
I didn't read that.
He thought maybe talking on a cell phone, but then we find out he had no cell phone reception, I guess. But so anyway, he drops his mother off. She only lived a few miles down the road, and immediately drives to the police station. It's a New York State Trooper barracks, so they send someone out. It takes the time it took him to drop his mother off, drive to the Trooper barracks, report what he just saw, which was...
I think it's a little weird that he didn't say, hey, like, just at least slow down, roll down the window and say, hey, are you okay?
I mean, you know what? You're driving 55. It's 1:30 in the morning. I don't know if I would stop.
If I'm driving down the street and somebody's waving their arms frantically and it's that cold out and they don't have a coat on...
I don't know if I would. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm a woman, though, so I think there's a little bit of a different dynamic there.
Yeah, but the difference between, like, especially if you keep yourself distant, just don't let the person get up on the car, get, like, close enough onto you. You know, you just, hey, are you okay? Do you need help? You know, do you need me to call the cops? Like, you know, what's going on? You know, and you can get like a gist. I understand it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning. Nothing good ever happens at 1:30 in the morning when you're,
no.
You know. So I understand the apprehension, but at least to say something. I just find it a little weird.
I don't really. No,
you don't think
I don't
so?
know.
Okay.
I would probably handle it the same way he did.
Okay.
Especially he's got. Never mind. He had his mom. His mother was 90-something years old.
Yeah.
So you can't pull over and ask some young kid what's going on at 1:30 in the morning with your mom in the car. She only lived a few miles down the road. He figured, I'm going to just drop her off. I'll go to the trooper barracks.
He went straight to the trooper barracks. He didn't even drop her off
There was No, he dropped her off first.
The story I read, they went directly from him to the trooper barracks.
Well, it took 30 minutes for a trooper to get from the time he saw her,
and it was 4 miles away.
From the time he saw Colin to the trooper arriving at the scene, 30 minutes had passed. No sign of Colin.
Okay.
Apparently, according to reports 2 years later, they did find at pretty much the exact spot that Mr. Rich saw Colin.
Bum, bum, bum.
His driver's license and a tobacco pipe, which, i.e., I think that's a weed pipe, isn't it?
Think so?
Yeah.
Like a bong?
No,
glass
like a
pipe?
glass pipe, right?
Oh.
What's the tobacco? Are you smoking like tobacco? Like?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like Sherlock Holmes, like the guy's walking down the street, like Sherlock Holmes, like.
Well, I mean, it's 2012, so I think it's a pipe.
Okay.
That's what I assumed.
Why wouldn't they call it a marijuana pipe?
Because you couldn't sell it as a marijuana pipe back then. You had to sell it as a tobacco pipe in a head shop.
But we all know what it is.
Yeah, but they're not going to label it that.
All right. I wish it would said like a glass pipe or a metal pipe.
Corncob pipe.
Exactly. That's what I'm picturing in my head.
I know. That is what I'm picturing too, but I don't think that's what it was. It's irrelevant, honestly.
Mm-hmm. How do they know what this is?
Well, they found it with his driver's license, so I don't know. So
it could have been anybody's. It could have been the assailant.
I suppose it could have been. So there's so much information that we don't know. Like, was it his? Did friends identify it as his?
We don't know why the cops seem to know that they were his.
Yeah, did they test it? DNA, fingerprint? I don't know.
For sure.
All of these things, they've tied it to him.
Yeah.
We have to assume it's his.
Yeah.
So.
And that it's a tobacco pipe.
So what's interesting about this case is, and it's a tobacco pipe. There's a couple things. One, he went to this party with 9 friends. All of them left except for him. The remaining people, no one's talking. And
so that's also I know you did say that like it's a small town. They weren't exactly invited, but they knew the people. It was a 21st birthday party for somebody, and I
mean, you and I have both been to parties like that where the invite goes out, especially after high school or around high school, and it's whoever wants to come.
Yeah.
Hey, so and so's having a party.
Yeah. But it wasn't his close inner circle.
Right, it was not his inner circle. Sounds like maybe his inner circle was there though.
Yeah, and then they left. And they left him, and he stayed for a reason.
Yeah, and he stayed. That's not. I don't think that's in question. That they.
No, it's his friends.
They did what they had to do. They had to leave, and he didn't want to go. So, but what's interesting is there's another gentleman involved. His name is Austin Toohey.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Austin says that he saw Colin walking at 1:45, so this is between the time Rich saw him and the trooper arrives.
Mm-hmm.
And Austin says that he saw him walking when he was bringing his cousin from the party home, going one way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then about 15 minutes later, he's going back the other way, and he stopped both times, I guess, and asked Colin if he wanted a ride.
Mm-hmm.
And Colin turned down the ride and said he was waiting for someone to come pick him up.
Austin and his cousin, Justin?
Yeah. So he's driving one direction, Austin, to drop the cousin off. They stop and ask Colin if he wants a ride. He says no. Austin drops the cousin off, drives back. Colin's still there. Hey, you want a ride? No, got someone going to get me. Austin goes on his way. As far as we know, Colin never called anyone to come get him.
Yeah.
None of his friends, those 9 friends that were there, everyone's like, nope, he didn't call me.
And it's a little weird. Doesn't add up. He's walking down the street in the middle of nowhere, waiting for somebody to come pick him up. Why didn't he stay at the party? If he was waiting for somebody to come pick him up, he could have stayed on the front porch.
Well, I could see him not staying at the party because the party ended.
Yeah,
so he's walking kind of
for a ride.
To wait for the ride. But it does make sense to me. You can wait at the end of the driveway
or...
Yeah, but it does make sense to me,
corner.
especially in the pre-cell phone days.
Yeah.
So, because he has no real reception, let's assume he can't just, drop a pin, right? Yeah. So he's walking in the direction the person would be coming from so that they'll see him, right?
Yeah.
And so he's walking on this main road so that they don't have to make the turn. They're going to see him. He's right there. and he's walking towards the direction they'd be coming from instead of towards his house, right? So they'll find him easier. This all makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So.
Him walking down the street waiting for a ride doesn't make sense to me. Not the time of year, not that time of night.
Well, he's not going to sit still. It's cold.
Yeah, I think he should have. I think he could have. I mean, Austin offered him a ride. Obviously, was Austin at the party?
Yes. Austin was apparently... So there's several theories that we'll get into later that are all...
Well, my point is, if Austin's at the party, he could say, "Hey, Austin, can you bring me... You're going to be giving
right,
Justin
there's a lot of...
Can you give me a ride home, too?
What's the right word? What's the unsubstantiated claims?
Yeah, it just doesn't
that
make
Austin
sense.
was involved in the earlier altercation. That the altercation was between Austin and Colin.
Yeah.
That Austin was very confrontational and known to be very confrontational in the area. And that Austin and him didn't really get along.
You don't think... okay.
All unsubstantiated claims, but
if they didn't get along, why would...
So there you go.
Why would Austin
Did Austin even really stop?
Mm-hmm.
Did he just drive by him?
Yeah.
Did he even ask him for a ride? We will never know the answer to these questions.
What kind of wildlife is that? Oh, that's a seaplane.
Oh.
It's got little...
Oh, gonna land on the lake.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So there's a couple of theories about Austin that we'll get into in a little while, but let's get back to Colin. So Colin's walking down the street. Someone saw him wave. Mr. Rich saw him kind of frantically waving his arms. Apparently, he also, during this time, at some point, called his parents and left a voicemail.
Oh, he did?
I don't know when. The articles that I've read, the podcast, everything doesn't really talk about this. His parents talk about it in a news interview, which is on our page. I'm going to put a link to it because it's probably the best written article that I've found about Colin. And in that interview, his parents tell her...
I think I read the wrong interview.
That...
Not the wrong interview. I think I read the wrong article.
Oh, okay. Well, his parents tell... the paper that he sounds very cognizant, very coherent in all of his voicemail messages that evening.
That's interesting, because one of my theories up until this point was he may have taken a blow to the head, and that would explain why he was disoriented, walking away from his house. Maybe not making sense, like thinking that he actually had a ride. I mean, it's not uncommon for people to, especially in the back of the head or got knocked out, alcohol's involved, you fall back and you hit your head again and you get some trauma to the back of the head. There's a lot of you get disoriented. There's, maybe situations that your brain is making up that isn't real. But if he was leaving coherent messages to his parents, that thickens the plot.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Again, no one saw him get in a fight with Austin, yet there's rumors that he did. There's it's not substantiated. The police aren't really talking, so you're hearing stuff through the rumor mill.
For sure.
So, there's several suspected theories about what happened to Colin. Number one, that he's walking with a t-shirt on in frigid temperatures.
Yeah. Hypothermia also causes
disorientation, that he wandered off into the woods.
Yeah.
Number two, foul play. So someone took him from the scene. Someone hit him with their car.
Yeah. Don't we still have some more?
So, yeah.
Before we get into the different possibilities. Or are we at that point?
I think we've covered everything.
So he goes missing. His parents wake up, find him not home. Not uncommon.
No, just like an 18-year-old kid.
The night before, he spent the night at his friend's house.
Yep.
Was home by morning or at least early afternoon.
Yeah.
By the time it was afternoon and the parents hadn't seen or heard from him, they started calling him. His phone, I guess, was dead, going to voicemail.
It was going straight to voicemail.
And they really started to get worried. Called the cops. Cops went out there, looked for him, couldn't find him, and that's when it started to saying, hey, we got a missing person. They got the U.S. military from Fort Drum involved, and they
had something like 6,000 volunteers that first day or something.
Oh, the first day?
No, the first day.
Yeah.
Something like that, combing the woods, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
For sure.
Jumping in the lake,
mm-hmm.
as I understand, the river, everything. Bodies of water.
Yeah. Because it's not uncommon, again, part of hypothermia is you start to think that your body is overheating, that you're hot, and you start to take more layers off, and it's not uncommon for somebody who's suffering from hypothermia saying, hey, I'm burning up, I got to jump into this lake or jump into this river, and then all your motor skills come to a very slow, even your involuntary movement, all that stuff goes very slow until you pass away.
But the New York State Police feel very confident that they have combed this area.
Yeah.
They have never found anything of Colin's. He had a red and orange backpack on.
Yes.
He had the jacket.
Mm-hmm.
He had clothing on.
Yeah.
Not found one iota.
No.
Other than the license and the pipe.
Not a shoe, because originally it was reported.
Yeah.
It got leaked that there was his shoe and his license were found.
Right. There was the license and a pipe.
A lot of shoes were found, but none of them were.
Which is interesting, because that is a young man. I would think he'd carry his license in his back pocket.
In his wallet, yeah.
Or a wallet, if he carried a wallet, right?
Why would he take his license out?
I know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So.
I don't know. Police always ask for your ID.
And then that is a theory, too. Like, did the trooper come across him?
Really? Is that really a thing? Because I'm kind of putting that.
There's like.
The police did it.
Well, I don't want to say that the Reddit boards have
said that,
but if you go on Reddit,
yeah, I think
it's a
little far-fetched.
I mean, I'm just gonna say that seems very far-fetched.
Yeah, that's a dark, slippery.
And I think even back then they still had dash cams, so I think something would have been caught on camera.
At least dash cam, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially state troopers.
Yeah.
We know videos going back. Early 2000s, excuse me.
Yeah, that's been going on a long time.
Not body cams, but
they would have had a dash
cam.
Yeah. So one of the more puzzling things. So we presented this case, kind of just a broad view of this case, to our friend who is a retired police officer and an avid outdoorsman. And I said, "What do you think, Stephen?"
Oh, okay.
And I said, "What do you think happened to this kid?" And his initial reaction was hypothermia.
Yeah.
And he thought he's wandered into somewhere and they just haven't found him.
For sure. But, I mean, they put a pretty extensive search together.
I mean, I think they said there's not that many people missing in the Adirondack State Park to this day. 6?
Yeah.
Missing to this day. Unfound. More than that have gone missing.
Yeah.
But only like 6 or 9.
Yeah.
It's not that many.
No.
Go on. And from what I understand, this area is highly trafficked just in this wooded area because it is a lot of hunting goes on. Not a hiking area.
Yeah.
And very thick brush.
Well, they informed all the hunters when you're in there, look for anything,
Yeah, and hunters
anything
are,
that stands out,
you would see a
yeah,
red and
sure.
orange
Yeah.
backpack.
Well, did he have the backpack on him? Does anybody confirm that he had the backpack? Can Rich confirm
I
that?
believe that in the stuff I've read, it indicate that he was wearing the backpack.
All right. Well, we also know, before we completely get into the theories, Austin Tui.
Mm-hmm. That's how I'm saying it, yes.
That Tui's property they excavated his property a few months.
Yeah, so in 2020.
Yeah.
So that was just during COVID, really.
Yeah.
Authorities excavated a property called the Old Noble Farm, which is in Edwards, New York.
Mm-hmm.
So a little ways away from...
They had to have some kind of tip.
Right, you got to have probable cause to dig up somebody's land.
Yeah.
So, again, the police have not discussed it ever.
But it's been... I thought it was confirmed that it was because of...
Oh, yes,
Austin
it was
Tui.
a lead. It was a lead directly related to this case.
Yeah.
they did confirm that.
And
But they didn't confirm if they found anything.
Yeah.
Or didn't find anything.
well, we would have known if they found his remains or found anything.
Oh, yes. But we don't, as far as we know, they found nothing.
And then in September of 2021, Austin Tui actually passes away due to complications from open heart surgery.
Yeah. Very sad. So, very young, 27 years old.
So, and to go, I read Austin Tui's obituary that was in the Tupper Lake, I believe the newspaper. I forget the name of the newspaper. But one of the things they do say is that he did have he was not unaccustomed to getting in trouble when he was younger. So,
it said that in the obituary. I guess I didn't read that. I'm sorry.
They focus very much on, because I'm assuming it's part of his family probably had written it, or somebody close to the family had written it, that he would do anything to help anybody, especially somebody who was his relative or related through marriage, which I thought was a really weird thing to point out, but that he would help anybody, and that he was not unaccustomed to trouble, but he was turning his life around. When he passed away. And I went actually onto Austin Tui's page. He had open heart surgery, I want to say in May of 2021. In July, and the last post that he does, he's about to get the tubes taken out of his neck, and so he looked like he was doing good. He had the surgery, and then he thanked his girlfriend at the time for being there and supporting him. And then I guess they got engaged in July, and unfortunately, Mr. Tui passed away in September.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah,
he's very young.
Yeah, so I believe it was due to an infection from he passed away in Albany Medical.
Yeah, Albany Med. I saw that. Yeah. That's sad. I did not do a deep dive into Austin Tui as you did, but the family might never have answers.
Yeah.
To what he knew.
Yeah, I mean, I would. There's Justin was the
He's a cousin. Yeah.
The cousin. He was.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows partially of what was going on with Austin and Colin before Colin's disappearance, and I mean, at this point you got to take it at face value. But there is a reason why the cops searched his property. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that Austin had anything to do with it. I'm just saying if you're kind of looking at the black and white, and you were to do a checks for pros and cons. He was the last person to see him alive, which is never good. Not never good, but it's normally, it's I guess that's a neutral. But that there are some stories of them not getting along 100%. That they did search his property in Edwards, New York. And
it's a family property, so it's not his. But
it was in connection because of Austin.
Yes.
Because of their relationship.
Probably.
That led to that family farm getting searched. So,
oh my gosh.
He'll live.
Sorry, the dog walked up to me just now covered in burdocks. And if anyone knows what burdocks are, he's just covered in them. I have one thought on this, which is that one of the theories, of course, is that he wandered into the hypothermia, wandered into the woods.
But if that was the case, most likely they would have found him.
Yeah. I mean,
you have to travel very far.
Police believe that they have done a really thorough search, and there's no way he's in those woods. So
6,000 people in the first day. Some of the best experts on the subject.
I know.
U.S. military joined the search.
No, they had an extensive search for days. This wasn't just one day. It was days. I think it was a week-long effort of.
If there were remains.
Yeah, I know.
They would have been.
How far could he have gone?
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's number one. Number two, that someone hit him with their car because it's a dark, winding road, and then hid the body. I don't like this idea. I think there'd be signs. Mm-hmm. You hit a deer.
Evidence.
This is, you see evidence of that, and the police found no evidence of that whatsoever.
There was snow on the ground too.
Right. Just no evidence.
So you would find
zero.
blood.
No.
The roads were dry, I guess.
Yes.
So there would have been you hit somebody. It's not like you slowly come to a stop. You slam on the brakes.
So I just think no. In my mind, I've ruled that idea out.
Yeah. As we know from unfortunately, the poor gentleman who passed away in what is that, Latham, after leaving Philly's bar.
Oh yeah, just walking down the street. Yeah.
Yeah, he got hit, and the how they caught the guy is they found a piece of the suspect's car, which I believe was a Mazda. It had a serial number on the piece that was broken off the car.
Then they just trace it. That's what I mean. These things, there's just evidence there that I don't care. They would have, if that happened.
Yeah.
They would have found something. Theory number 3 is that he willingly got in the car with the third person.
Yeah, but to drop his license is a little weird.
Yeah, I just don't know. Or was forced in the car and the license came flying out.
Unless he purposefully was trying to disappear, Breaking Bad style.
I just don't believe that.
No.
He had, from all accounts, a lovely family. Nothing to disappear from.
True.
Was just starting out. Like, this is a kid who's just he's very intelligent, just starting out in school, pre-med, his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah.
And when I first read this story, because a friend of mine told me about Colin, I've lived here my entire life.
Yeah, I don't remember this story.
I've never heard about Colin's story until recently. And she told me this story, and I quickly read.
Who told you?
Carrie from work. And Carrie told me that she knows family members.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, you got to do this story when she found out we were doing the podcast. So shout out to Carrie. We're doing it. She's like, Colin's story.
Wildlife.
Is never, it got a lot of press at the time, right? But it's not.
Or miracle
Colin's
spats.
family today still wonders what happened. And can you imagine just not knowing what happened to your son, your cousin, your brother?
Yeah.
Forever. It's been 20 or 12 years.
Yeah.
You have no idea what happened to this kid.
True.
And I think that that's really unfair. And his poor family, and his family's really well known in the community. His grandparents are well known in the community, and no one knows what happened to this kid. People are very distraught about this because it's a small town and no one's talking about what really happened.
Yeah.
Someone must know.
Well, I mean, if there's somebody out there who does know, please, by all means, reach out. There's a $25,000 reward on any information that leads to the resolution of this case. You can call the state police at 518-897-2000. That's 2000. Again, 518-897-2000. And if for anything, even if you know something that you don't think is important, it doesn't hurt. It's not like at this point they're getting over inundated with leads. Anything at all that you think or know about Colin Gillis, please reach out. For the family, think about their loved ones. Think about his older brother, his younger brother, who are now growing up with this hole in their life. Their parents or his parents. Please reach out with any information that you can. And if you do know something that is incriminating to somebody, even if it's somebody that you care about, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, there's a whole nother life of lives that have been, like I said, have a huge hole that's just missing, and they need to know. They need to know what happened to Colin.
Right. So now I'll just describe Colin, because maybe you've seen him. Maybe he's out there.
Maybe. That's what I'm saying. That's one of the theories.
So if you've seen him, he would be 30 years old today.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Today?
Yeah.
Today?
Today. He'd be 30 years old.
That doesn't make sense.
His birthday's in March. He'd be 30 years old.
Oh, I thought you were saying like today's his birthday. Like 30 years old today. I was like, what? No, because he had his birthday.
Nick only had a glass of wine.
Well, again,
Can't do
in
math.
case since we've alluded to it a little bit earlier, my back is killing me. I hurt myself over the weekend. Going to the doctor for x-rays tomorrow. So I'm a little off today.
Okay, so he had a scar on his left shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
He's last seen wearing men's size, medium-sized American Eagle V-neck shirt.
How do you doubt he's still wearing it?
No. but that's what he's last seen wearing. He had size 10 red high-top sneakers. He was carrying an orange LL Bean backpack.
Size 10?
Yeah.
He's 6'1"?
Yeah.
Okay.
LL Bean backpack containing a reversible black and red LL Bean coat.
Man loves his LL Bean. I don't blame him.
I love LL Bean myself. If you have any information, please contact the New York State Police. The investigator in charge of this case is Major John Tibbetts, who is since retired. But he said out of his entire career in the North Country, the Gillis case bothers him the most. And he would really like it if this troop can bring closure to this family. So, once again, as Nick said, if you have any information, as minor as you might think it is, please call the New York State Police.
What do you personally think happened?
I think there's something amiss.
All right, so you think there's some foul play.
What that is, I just don't know. I don't know if it was accidental.
What time was those phone calls left? Like after
There's
the party?
There's no information about that. It just said that he called them and it was not incoherent. Doesn't say what time.
And it didn't sound like he was in distress?
No.
And why didn't his parents answer?
Well, it was 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, but my
mom doesn't answer me at 1:30 in the morning.
My mom would.
No. My mom does not.
I don't know about my dad, but my mother would.
So I'm just saying, like, you have your cell phone off. We don't even know, like, what time of day what time those, maybe, with the delay in service.
I want to know more about these phone calls.
Yeah. Maybe we'll know someday.
Because, like, if you left, obviously, if the parents went to bed at, let's say, 10:30, 11 o'clock. Let's say they went to bed at midnight, and he called at 12:30. There's a long time between 12:30 and 1:30.
Yeah, he wouldn't have called at 12:30. He was still at the party.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he called from the party. Because he had to have cell reception when he called. And it seems to me that he was closer, and the party was closer, maybe, to the town. And when he was missing, which you got to believe the barracks got to be close to town. From the point that he went missing from our last scene, was only 4 miles to the police barracks. And the police went out there and searched for him, and he was already missing. My point being is that it's got to be, like, and he had cell reception to make a phone call. I just don't, like, maybe the party ended because there was a second fight. Maybe he made that phone call before the second fight. Maybe he was injured and was walking around incoherently. And it was so here's my thought, is that whoever he got into is like, again, we don't know why he stayed. I know me, why I would have stayed, what would cause me to stay. And another thing could have caused me to stay is maybe I was having a great conversation with an old friend that I haven't seen in a long time. And my friends are leaving. I'm like, I'm catching up with, John Doe. And I want to finish that up. And then another fight breaks out. And he is injured in this fight. And he is clearly, like, severely injured, where he starts to walk off on his own, where he is incoherent, and you let him leave, but then you catch back up to him, because when somebody finds him, everyone's going to
get in trouble.
Yeah,
maybe.
So you make him disappear. But if that was the case, then people at the party would have said, hey, before this, and that's another thing, like, we're not really hearing what people said at the end of that party.
No, I mean, the Reddit boards are alive and well, or anonymous posting.
Okay. Yeah, but you can't. That's a coin flip.
It's rumor.
Yeah,
it's all rumor, anonymous.
Yeah, there's a lot of idiots out there that want to hop on these things and they want to get a lot of likes, and they're going to make up something.
I don't want to repeat a lot of the stuff they say.
Because
it's a lot of misleading information, maybe.
But you can't keep 30 people quiet.
That's why I just don't understand.
Yeah,
these people, everyone at that party had to have given a statement. I feel like they did.
Yes.
And his friends especially did.
Yeah.
And at that point,
and obviously
nothing
the police would
seemed to
know.
miss with Colin.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, I have to believe that the police interviewed a lot of people at that party.
Yeah.
And that as young people, they told the truth.
Yeah. Was it you that once asked me if I could have a superpower, any superpower, what would it be? And I would say I would like to be able to solve unsolved crimes like the Black Dahlia murder.
No, but
and the Zodiac Killer. And now
Well, this one
the
is
Colin
one that I
Gillis.
would. Yeah.
If I could just wave a magic wand and it gave me all the answers.
It's just Colin's case really bothers me because you can I can see myself in
Yeah.
so many aspects of his life, like the small town and going to the party and having
Being
a good time,
genius.
just being a genius. I mean, he just like kid living his life, and
Yeah.
this just horrible thing happened to him, and he didn't deserve it. And I just would like to have answers, I think. And I don't even know Colin, but his family must be so distraught not knowing what happened that I think I would just really like to know what happened to this kid.
I think somebody made him disappear. That's what my gut. That's if I really had to say is that he had something happen at that party, and it's a friend of a friend or somebody who thought he was. No, I guess he was kind of slick if if the crime hasn't been solved. Had some bad, and I hope not. I really hope that's not the case. That's the last thing. And another, my backup theory, serial killer. If you think about it.
Oh no! So like that was actually explored. Israel Keys.
Who's that?
He's a serial killer.
That sounds familiar.
We'll do one on him later, but
Okay.
he's not from the area, but he had a lot of connections to the area, so we will talk about him. But
Because you think of that kid from Scotia, around the same age.
oh yeah. No, we gotta do
Walking,
him too.
yeah,
He's
at
still
night.
unsolved.
Yeah, another
too.
unsolved. That little boy.
Yeah, there's a couple that we need to do, but Israel Keys was a topic because he was from Indian Lake.
Okay.
Or spent a lot of time in Indian Lake, had a camp in Indian Lake, and he's a notorious serial killer. But he was actually arrested a week after Colin went missing in Texas, busy spending one of his last victim's money.
Okay.
So the timing just doesn't work out that he could have been up there and then all the way in Texas because it just didn't. He was already in Texas. So
does he have is there anything that says that he was in Texas at the time?
yeah, so that it seems
All
like
right,
he was
well,
in Texas
most
at the
likely
time.
not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of ruled out.
But
Israel Keys is dead. So he, if it was him, we would never know.
yeah. Who says he's been caught too, or it's been, this guy could still be, or woman, or whoever could still be out there. We've had a few cases of people, women too, but it's been a lot of guys that come up missing.
Well, I think men take a risk that women would never take, and that's where you guys differ from women. I think.
There are women serial killers.
No, this is not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I would never stay at a party by myself.
Yes.
And I would have never started walking home by myself, ever, in my life. Not even as a something-year-old.
Yeah.
Now, I would just never do it, and I never did it as a kid. I never. Maybe I was just too responsible, but something I would, and I think it's mostly because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
The threat is always there.
Yeah.
So we're always thinking about this is dangerous.
Yeah.
So to me, hearing his story, I'm thinking just not wanting to go with his friends already a level of danger.
Yeah.
Even though you guys are guys and you're like, I'll find my way home, I'll bum a ride, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is an element to that of what if I don't bum a ride?
Yeah.
It's 10 degrees outside.
For sure.
Where am I sleeping?
Yeah. There's a couple of points that I want to make though. I've throughout my life I've had work situations where I had to drive home late at night, and one thing that I noticed living out here, and when I was working at the casino, and working events late at night, and then driving home, that
You see people walking on the street,
there was
don't you?
there was a
Yeah.
but in kind of desolate too.
We had somebody walk by our house, and we live very
I know,
remotely.
that
That
was
guy
funny.
was,
He was wasted.
yeah.
He fell in our ditch. Thank God he didn't fall in the creek, because that's like a 10-foot drop from
Yeah.
the road. I don't
He
know how he
could
made
have
it
gotten
past
hurt.
that and didn't make it past our ditch. But anyway, there was a few times where I drove home. There was a young female who I've seen multiple times walking. You know that I guess I don't want to give the area away. especially any serial killers out there. But there's a horse farm that we would drive by that was closer towards...
I know which one you're talking about already, so you don't have to tell me.
All right, yeah. It was, kind of like a little before the halfway point on the way home. And that little development back there where Dave grew up. Dave, my co-host from the Capital Brew podcast. Where I would see there was a young female that I would see. Sometimes she'd have another friend or something with her, and sometimes it would be a guy. But there was always late at night, like 1 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes, a lot of times, by herself. And I'm like, where is this lady going? Well, young woman going. So, I worried for her.
Let's taste the wine.
Yeah, we got to give a wrap up on the wine. But also, another point I want to make about the working at the casino. I was working there at the point of the Samantha Humphreys search. And at that point, my office was still on the backside facing the river. And I would look out my window across the river, and you would see exactly what they're talking about when they're walking shoulder to shoulder when they were looking for her.
Oh, yeah, they bring in the New York State Trooper cadets. They bring in volunteers. They bring in
had
everybody.
Helicopters. They stationed pretty much right where they're building the new arena that they're building over there by the casino. But they all parked over there, and that was like headquarters for her search. And they had divers, they had boats, they had drones, which they didn't have back in 2012. At least not like they have them now. They had people walking on the other side of the river. So if you went over Freeman's Bridge on the left-hand side, they stationed another area over there where they had people just walking along the river on the other side. And, they don't mess around. And, again, helicopters flying over. And they were going all the way down to Knowles and when they were looking for her. So you got to believe. This is why I don't think hypothermia is really the key, because I think they would have found her. I just think found him if it was hypothermia. I mean, it could be. There's a lot of nooks and crannies.
I
maybe
just feel like the orange backpack.
That's stuff.
That's the biggest thing for me is if it was hypothermia, that orange backpack someone would have seen it.
Yeah.
If he was wearing all dark clothes, maybe you don't see it, or green. You blend with your environment, but an orange backpack. It's actually why I carry an orange backpack when I hike, so that I'm seen.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But this was when I first heard about this. I thought this was an unbelievable case. So I just wanted to bring some attention to it. And
there's so many cases like this, though.
There are a lot in the Capital Region that people have become unaware of.
Samantha Humphreys again.
Samantha Humphreys, the young man from Scotia, which we will cover.
The little boy whose name is escaping me right now.
Jalik Rainwalker.
Yeah. Yes, that's him.
There's another little boy from Steventown that it was same thing.
Yep. Good call on Rainwalker.
He's a high-profile case, I think, in the Capital Region. People know that case.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking. He was 8.
Yeah, just
we should do that
because he's a kid. And these young men, though, that Colin and the young man from Scotia, same age.
Yeah.
So, but let's taste the wine.
I did.
It's
still delicious.
I know.
Why don't you feed me more white wines? Don't get me wrong. I love my reds, especially my red blends. My basic red blends.
I'm going to tell people right now that my problem is that I'm a huge fan of Sauvignon Blanc, and New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is my absolute favorite. I like the clean, crisp.
Yeah.
I like to lick.
That's in the summertime.
Rocks.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
I just don't like. I don't like other flavors mixed in with my rocks.
It's so funny. My beer choices are your wine choices, and then your beer choices are my wine choices.
You like the
darker, and you like your porters and stouts, and I like my lagers and pilsners, and you like your white wines, which I actually, I like those too.
I mean, I like white wine, but.
And I like stouts.
Don't get me wrong. I do like white wine. I just tend to like everyone, and this is half the reason I'm doing this. We're doing this podcast. I'm doing this podcast. Half the reason I'm doing this podcast.
Is to spend more time with me.
We are doing this podcast is to give you some ideas of some wine to try that you might not try, because I am like everyone else. You go to the store and you buy the same wine that you like, because your $15 is going to be well spent and you're going to like it.
Yes.
But if I can tell you a wine to try and you see it on the shelf and you're like, I heard about this one, maybe I'll give it a try today.
Yeah.
This is one of those ones where, like, if you're a solid white wine drinker and you liked the Chardonnays,
Yes.
this is an oak Chardonnay that is very clean.
It is.
And I kind of like it.
It's delicious.
Nick loves it.
I do. I really like this.
So we're giving this a good review.
How much?
Oh, this one was $18.
Okay.
So a little bit. I guess on the pricey side for some of the Chardonnays.
Yeah.
I bought a $4 bottle of Chardonnay a couple weeks ago just to give it a whirl.
How was
Nick,
it?
of course, thought it was fantastic.
All right, great. Oh, the Unshackled?
Yes.
That
no,
was great.
no, that was expensive.
Oh, was it? I really like that one.
No, I think it was called Long Path.
Okay.
Remember?
No. I like that pig one too.
The squealing pig. We'll include that one in our podcast at some point because that's my absolute favorite. That's a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc that is just fantastic.
I like that better than Matua. I don't hate Matua. I just once you served me that, and then I had Matua, I was just like,
yeah, you
can
can't
we
do them
have the
together.
squealing
Squealing
pig
pig is
again?
delicious. But I'm trying to venture out, and we're gonna go into some. I think I'm gonna start venturing into the land of France
Okay.
because Nick and I are going to France.
Well, literally, we're gonna venture into the land.
We're
of
literally
France.
going to France soon, and French wine is the best wine in the world. So we're going to have to venture into that area of the wine store.
Yeah.
And I know it's scary, everyone. It's scary. But you got to go there. Because if you like wine...
What's so scary about it?
It's not, you don't know. So, if you like wine, right, and you go to the wine store, American wine is named by the grape. Okay,
Yep.
so you got your Chardonnay,
Yep.
that's the type of grape. Your Pinot Noir, that's the type of grape,
Yeah.
right? In France, they name the wine by the region.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with
Champagne.
Bordeaux,
Yeah.
Champagne, Champagne. The French words for the same thing.
Yeah.
But you're like all of a sudden don't know what that means, right? So we're going to venture into the French wines.
All right. I'm down. Are we wrapping this one up?
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of Murder Through the Grapevine. Hopefully, it's tough to say this one is a murder, but it is an unsolved crime. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So when we post this up on Facebook and you're listening to this and you're wrapping up, please feel free to go back to our Facebook page and comment your theories. Curious to know what other people think after listening to this. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a Capital Brew marketing production. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll get back to you soon.